I just got out of an argument with Helwani, and we were doing Errol the Bad Guy. Question came up, had to do with Werdum's fight over the weekend being switched to a no contest, and was that a good thing or was it not, as it had to do with New Jersey. New Jersey was specifically brought into this. Now, you guys know my stance on this. If New Jersey had the authority to unilaterally go in and in an attempt to have a fair adjudication, great job. Absolute pat on the back. It's still a question of if. Did they have that authority? Because there is a number of irregularities here. A number. One of the things irregular, in all fairness, is that a commission cared enough to get a fair adjudication and actually took the steps to go in and do it. So again, this could be me shining their wheels. No part is negative to the body that did it. The question remains, did they have that authority? The mere fact that they did it over the weekend is an irregularity. If I go check their website, they were closed until Monday morning at 8 a.m. Apparently they worked on a Sunday, just by example. They brought in a piece of evidence known as video evidence. I mean, in a commission hearing, that could be argued and ruled out. That could be argued, tampered with. And yes, I know how ridiculous that sounds, but this is what happens in these things. This is why this isn't built for speed. It's why it's so rare and uncommon, if not even unheard of, that it ever was turned around so quickly, which also comes back to the argument of why I might be having to say, great job, guys. They might have done a really great job here. Did they have the authority? Ariel was taking the stance. He said, not only did they have the right to do it, not only did they do the right thing, they should have done it on the spot. They should have gone right there, watched an instant replay, and got it right the first time in the cage. Well, no, Helwani, you're missing something. You're missing whether or not the referee saw it or not. It's extremely relevant. And this is where it would come up through a hearing. Everybody gets to come in and tell their sides, but that would include a referee under oath and two athletes under oath, which is extremely relevant because if the referee saw it, then no, this can't be reversed. If the referee saw the hand and the motion that we're speaking about, then that means that he, in the moment, made a judgment call. A judgment call cannot be argued and it cannot be reversed. So if the argument is then that the referee did not see it, how do we know that? This got done on a Sunday. So that would appear to me it got done in the dark of night. It would appear to me this got done unilaterally. It would appear to me that absolutely nobody was there. I don't have that evidence. I cannot prove that the referee wasn't in town and brought in and they all sat there and the referee signed a sworn statement saying, I didn't see it. At which time you could go to the instant replay, but it's still open for interpretation. And I will still tell you, an open hand touching your opponent is not the definition of a tap. That is the definition of a slap. What's the difference between a tap and a slap? Well, that's a tough one. But one thing that a tap needs to be is 2 or more times. This was 2 times. So I see what you guys saw. I'm well aware of what happened. I'm speaking to the idea, can they do that? Sport is not straight. Sport is not fair. You do the best you can to get an honest adjudication, but there are mistakes that are made, and when those mistakes are made, we live with them. I cannot tell you very many times in life where I've ever seen something like this. There was a wrestler from America. 1998 was the year. His name was Kerry McCoy. McCoy goes to the World Championships, makes it to the semifinals, beats the Cuban 4-2. Gets in the van to go back to the hotel, get a good night's sleep, and come and wrestle for the world gold the next day. John Smith, who was the coach at the time, got onto the bus, turned to Kerry and said, we have a problem. Kerry said, well, what could that be, coach? John Smith said, they're in the back right now and they're going to overturn that decision. So without any kind of an argument, without Kerry even present, an overturning of the decision does not mean they re-wrestle. Not that that would be much better, but it doesn't mean they do any of those things. It means they went in the back room, they got on an eraser, they changed the score and said the Cuban won. A match that had just concluded 4-2, America got their hand raised, they switched it and said Cuba won. Oh, by the way, they went with it. The next day, the Cuban wrestled for the world title. Oh, by the way, he won. That was in 1998. He's been inducted to the Cuban National Hall of Fame for being a world champion. I mean, it could not possibly be any more official, but that's how it happened. Even Matt Lindland, you guys might recall why he was named the Law, because he used the law against a match that he refuted in the final wrestle-off against Keith Saraki in the year 2000. The judge agreed with Matt, and the judge ordered that they re-wrestle. The same thing that happened with Zayn and Yanni. The same thing that happened with Leroy and Lewis. They re-wrestled. Now, just because that's the rules of wrestling does not mean that's the rules of New Jersey. I'm just bringing in an example that I have seen. And I'm bringing in what happened in New Jersey. They didn't go refight. They didn't redo anything. They made a decision. In fact, Helwani not only thought it should not be a no contest, he thought that was the fault of the commission. It should not have been a no contest. It should have been a victory, and it should have been a victory for Werdum. So I'm still left at what's the difference between a slap and a tap? And guys, don't think you need to explain this to me. I got it. I'm trying to speak technically here because this is where it would go, and this is where it would have gone, and it's where it should have gone, in my opinion, if they had actually got to a commission hearing, of which they didn't. So you have a fight in New Jersey that has consequences for both athletes and the promotion, none of which are near the consequence to a bettor, to somebody who came forward and parted with their money in a state, one of two, whose greatest revenue stream is gaming. And we now have the official body that changed the result of the contest. It's very, very interesting. It's very, very compelling, but you would also see why, logically speaking, and I haven't looked into it, guys. I can't say that enough times. I keep on saying, we got it, Chael. You don't know the rules. Okay, great. But I cannot imagine a situation where a government body would have that kind of latitude for that very reason. They would just be opened up to, oh, what, you got a brother? Did your brother happen to bet on the He did. What'd your brother bet? Oh my gosh, and you at the back and you changed the decision? This doesn't look good. I mean, but governments think of that. They think of that just for appearance reasons, and they wouldn't give one person that kind of authority. And this is being reported that the commission did this. The commission, according to its own website, was adjourned until the following morning at 8 a.m. I only bring that up. I don't think the commission was there. I don't think this was a commission's decision. I believe this was done unilaterally by the executive director, which, by the way, might need a prize. He might be the man of the year for stepping in, taking quick action, knows his system's not built for speed. He can see it with his own two eyes, and he's doing as best he can to reverse something. No judgment passed by me. Conversation being had by me. Did he have that authority? And if he did, why? Why and how could somebody have that kind of authority in a state that's based on gaming? And before you go, oh, Chael, come on, what are you talking about? Little fight in the PFL here. Nobody bet on that. Fine. That could have been Mike Tyson versus Lennox Lewis 20 years ago. That could have been George St. Pierre versus Khabib 3 months ago. That could have been any fight. Any fight. Just because this is one that a lot of people really didn't care about and really didn't watch has nothing to do with the fact of was this handled correctly. Nothing to do with it. And I'm curious. I am extremely curious, because if you went on video surveillance and you saw a hand come up doing a slap motion, but did it 2 or more times, which it did, while in a precarious position known as a triangle choke, which it was, to come to the conclusion that that was a tap is reasonable. To come to the conclusion that it was a tap without hearing from the parties involved. Number one, it has to be in this order. Hey, referee, under oath, did you see it? Because if he says yes, we're done. Wouldn't matter if he missed it, wouldn't matter if he got it wrong. That would be between him and the commission for his next assignment. For that night, if the referee saw it and made a judgment call that it was not a surrender, we're done. And you cannot make that a no contest. Period. The referee was not asked that, and he most definitely wasn't asked that under oath. That part I know. Was the referee called or contest? I don't know. Still wouldn't have been official. Then you would have to go to Werdum with the very simple question, did you think he tapped? Yes, you did. Well, you didn't release the hold. Well, I don't release the hold until the referee steps in. Oh, okay, fair enough, but I've seen 11 other submissions you've done, and you have released the hold the moment they tapped. Now, I don't know if I can bring that in here, but if we're all just bringing in opinions, I'm gonna have to tell you, Werdum, I don't know. That's not really consistent with the way you fought. And then you go to Ferreira. Hey, were you trying to tap? Did you just make a mistake with your hand getting a little tired? So instead of closing a fist, you open it a couple times. You got to look at all of those things. And then you have to form a decision. A decision was made without having any of those conversations, not to mention it was by a director, not with the commission. According to their own website, they were adjourned. So now you have a fight. And again, guys, you got to imagine. I don't want to lose you here because I'm talking about Werdum versus Ferreira. It could have been Khabib versus George. It could be anything that was happening. Same commission, same rules, same logic, same applications. Why and how? So we know for the future. Was a protest officially filed? How did it get done so expedited? And who asked for this? If Werdum and company did not ask for this, there would be no ruling in any other state. I don't know. Possibly New Jersey's got the only state where you could step in without being asked to render. They did it anyway. I would be curious moving forward. Is there a tape we need to look at and a relook at? You guys remember Overeem versus Stipe Miocic. I felt him tap, right? But you'll remember that. Well, what if they replayed it? We didn't see it. What if they replayed it and they did? What do we do then? It's a very real thing. How are we going to handle these things? We're seeing it with Jan and Aljo in some ways.